let me just say this.
That's right.
I have no interest in being shouted out by Willard Scott because I turned 110. I mean, all praise to Vinny. Congratulations, big hugs and kisses. But 110? What? Come on now.
Two things. Willard Scott no longer in the shout-out game.
No.
And you just let me know when you want to check out. Just give me a heads up.
110.
We'll get somebody else on the show. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Nelly Korda wins again. The Bruins have a tough decision, and Aaron Judge gets booed at home. But we begin today with the NBA playoffs. All 8 first-round series began over the weekend, and all 8 home teams won, almost all by numbingly large margins. Wilbon, you watched all of them?
Yep.
Which result did you find most interesting?
Well, Tony, the last result, the last game, we're looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City hold off barely and narrowly a New Orleans team that was spirited on the road, and it looked like a real game. As you know, you watched a lot of these. You and I checked in with each other, and, you know, you had to stop, you know, from going to sleep on a couple of these things, Tony. So that was the game, had something called ties and lead changes. Oh, my God. But there were interesting elements in other games. Joel Embiid and all of his drama throws the ball off the glass to himself, throws it down, and then, oh, wait, he's off in the locker room. He hadn't dunked a single time since he'd come back from the meniscus injury, and he dunked only 19 times, we're told, all season. And so he's out there dragging himself one-legged up and down the court against the Knicks, and that's got a certain drama to it, Tony. And so does Anthony Edwards, who went out and took a blowtorch to the Phoenix Suns and his idol Kevin Durant. So there are elements that were very interesting, even though the games, as you point out, were not close. But the last game was really good. And I expect, by the way, at least 4 road teams to win their game 2s.
Yeah, so I had difficulty watching because the margins were so vast and often in the first half. The games were over in the first half. So we get to the last game, which is New Orleans at Oklahoma City, and I'm tired, and I've watched bad games, and I've watched some golf, and I've watched some baseball, and I don't want to be disappointed again, so I go to sleep. So I missed the only good game. I missed that game. And then I tried to stitch together some sort of thesis, Mike, about what had happened to the teams where the stars were not playing, because Jimmy Butler's out, and Miami loses by a lot, and Zion is out, and New Orleans loses by a little. But then Milwaukee, without Antetokounmpo, wins by 100 points. And then the Clippers without Kawhi Leonard, they win big. Yeah. So I have no thesis. My only thesis is that the home teams have won. Like you, I believe there will be in game 2 a couple of teams, road teams will win. I'm looking particularly at Dallas, and I'm looking at Indiana because they were so bad. They were beaten so badly that I assume there is some motivation for them. If I had one thing to say, one player in particular, and I did watch this, Damian Lillard had 35 in the first half. 35, and then none. Then he played 19 minutes in the second half, took 5 shots, and had no more points.
So, Dame time came very early.
I was so wrong about that. I was so wrong about Milwaukee. I was certain they were going out because of the way they had played.
They could still go out. I still might see Indiana win that series.
I meant this game.
I learned from a sage old sports writer when I came into the business. Hey, it's a series, kid. Game 1, don't get crazy. So, you know, I'm going to take it. I'm going to stay with that advice. Yep. I think there's some road teams that are going to win game 2, and I know you believe that too. Let's move to the most dominant golfers in the world. Nelly Korda won her 5th straight tournament, the Chevron Championship, a major on Sunday. She joins Nancy Lopez and Annika Sorenstam as the only women to win 5 straight LPGA events. And on the men's side, this morning, Scottie Scheffler finished off his 4th win in his last 5 starts by winning at Hilton Head by 3 strokes. Tone, where you want to start?
Yeah, I'm going to start with Nelly Korda, and let's review. She won 5 in a row, including a major. Scottie Scheffler won 4 out of 5, including a major. But winning 5 in a row is a little bit better. She's 1 rung higher right now than Scottie Scheffler, as far as I'm concerned. And as you say, she etches her name alongside Nancy Lopez and Annika Sorenstam. I would argue they're the 2 greatest female golfers of the last 50 years. And Nelly Korda is only 25 years old. So there's a lot more opportunity there. I've been reading about Nelly Korda. I know you know her personally. I do not. I've been reading about her. And I read just last week that an LPGA official said she's like our Caitlin Clark. And I said, no, don't say that.
Don't get
Caitlin
crazy.
Clark is a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark set attendance records wherever she played. She set television records wherever she played. Nelly Court has been on the tour 6 or 7 years. We haven't seen that spike yet. Maybe we will. But I will say this, Mike. The Nelly Corda is the best professional golfer in the world among women, right? And we got to wait and see if Caitlin Clark's going to be the best professional basketball player in the world among women. So that, there's that dynamic going on.
People have to rush to judgment now on every single thing. They got to declare something a record or something's never happened before, and that's what the culture has come to. And so Nelly Corda is great at what she does, and she's important. She's a word that we never had, Tony, an influencer. Nelly Corda is big in that way. She takes it seriously, takes her responsibility seriously, is involved in all the ways in the sport to expand it and grow it. And so for Nelly Corda to have this attention now, and I hope she keeps winning. I hope she gets 6 in a row and 7 in a row. And it's not that I'm looking for her to sort of set herself apart from Lopez and Sorenstam. And Sorenstam, I mean, anybody going to argue that nobody's caught Sorenstam and may never do that? But Nelly Corda is great to watch now. Scheffler's interesting, Tony, because does he move the needle at all for golf? I mean, I know that you're still following Tiger or following Tiger and Phil, or even following a group that includes Rory and Spieth and some of the other younger people. He doesn't have anything that makes you go, I got to see Scottie Scheffler. I don't know whether that's going to matter, because I think half the people who have that sizzle are playing on the Saudi tour.
Mike, I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
He does something. His distance control makes you want to see him.
Oh, he's great.
His second shots are within 15 feet of the pin almost every single time. No, I'm not talking about personality.
Right.
But the compelling nature of the way he plays. He threw 65, 63 on Friday and Saturday in that tournament. He was down 6. Suddenly he's cruising again like he did at the Masters. He takes the drama out of it. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but at this point, Mike, he looks
he's dominant.
To maybe be an all-timer. We'll see. It takes time. Let's move to hockey. The NHL playoffs also began over the weekend. Boston won its opening game over Toronto 5-1. Bruins goalie Jeremy Swayman was terrific. But the Bruins have alternated goalies over their last 26 games. So following form, Linus Ullmark should be in goal for Game 2. But will he be? Bruins coach Jim Montgomery says he's still deciding. Wilbon, what would you do?
Tony, this is a fascinating choice, dilemma. I mean, you're in the playoffs, and so what do? I would stay with the rotation that got me there. And all those silly cliches, dance with who brung you, and all these things that are 1,000 years old. I'm doing that. And I understand that the guy who played last night has looked dominant against Toronto, which can't score at all. But, Tony, these things, you know this. Locker rooms are delicate places, and they often have a delicate balance. And it's not just the goaltender you're dealing with. You're dealing with the whole team here and personalities and how people, I don't mean superstitions. I mean actual feelings about how a team is conducted and what coaches do and the decisions they make. I'd go with what I've gone with all season, and it would be 27th time I'd be making that change.
So my temptation is to say, stick with this goalie right now because he's hot. Because I spent my entire life as a sports writer believing that the hot goalie in hockey is the most important thing you can have. I've seen that. But, and there's always a but, last year, Boston alternated goalies much like this year, maybe not to this extreme degree, but they alternated. They had the greatest year in the history of the NHL. They stopped alternating in the first round of the playoffs, and they got beat. Florida beat them. They played Swayman 6 times. They brought in Ullmark. He lost. That was it. So
other way around.
I agree with you that as a result of that, I would continue to alternate. I don't want to be in Jim Montgomery's shoes. Because if he makes the wrong call on Game 2, he's going to get crushed. He's going to get crushed. Anybody but him, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Let's take a break. Coming up, Yankee fans boo Aaron Judge.